The Mind Flayer itself is so grotesque that I literally got chills in every scene where rats and people turn into this crazy goopy sludge. Ah! Hey guys, it's Kristen, and today we are talking about Season 3 of Netflix's series, Stranger Things. Set a year after the gang closes the portal to the Upside Down in Season 2, this new season centers around Hawkins in the summer of 1985, with the new Starcourt Mall becoming the latest hotspot in town, driving local stores out of business. With a focus on friendships, relationships, and summer fun, all seems well. But then, Dustin intercepts his secret Russian code, Nancy begins diving into a strange local story, Eleven and Max realize something is wrong with the citizens of Hawkins, and Will starts getting that strange familiar chill that can only mean one thing. Looks like this summer is about to get stranger. Consider subscribing if you like my videos and drop down in the comments so we can talk about Stranger Things together. And just so you guys know, this video will contain spoilers, so you have been warned. Now, surprisingly, this is actually the first time that I'm talking about Stranger Things on my channel, but I have been an avid watcher since the beginning. Season 1 started off really strong, introducing us to this town of Hawkins and all of these incredible characters. And while Season 2 is a little bit harder to get through, at least for me, they still continue to have some really impressive performances, especially from Noah Schnapp as Will Byers. That kid had some award-worthy performances last season. So what about Season 3? Let's start off with the good. We start off kind of seeing what the whole gang is up to for this summer. You know, Eleven and Mike are in this very serious relationship. Dustin just got back from summer camp and he's talking about this new, potentially fake girlfriend that he has. Steve has a summer job working at Scoops Ahoy at the Starcourt Mall. It's really refreshing to see this kind of like little bit of summer, this kind of calm before the storm. They're settling into this new routine of not having to deal with demogorgons and gates that go to different dimensions. So seeing Elle as this like little moody teenager and getting into all these like typical teenage shenanigans with Max was really great to see. Seeing Hopper kind of struggle being this overprotective father that's realizing that his daughter's growing up. And you know, Will, dude just wants to like relax, play a little D&D. I think he deserves it after all the crap he went through last season. But nope, everybody's caught up in their own relationship drama. And we also got a bunch of flashbacks to the previous seasons, which I thought was really cool to see because, man, these kids have grown up so much. I think the way that this show kind of plays up that 80s nostalgia, there's something about it that makes it feel like we have grown up with these characters. I mean, I haven't because I'm old, but it makes me feel like I've grown up with them, you know? But of course, you know, this is Hawkins, so stranger things are going to continue happening. We learn that Russian spies are leading an organization to reopen the gate between Hawkins and the Upside Down that Elle had closed last season. And as they begin that process, it reawakens the Mind Flayer that Will dealt with. But now it looks like that monster is looking for help. It attacks Billy and essentially makes him the leader of the flayed individuals in the town who've been possessed by the Mind Flayer. They essentially become what I kind of like to think of as this giant goop monster version of the Power Rangers Megazord, using the bodies of the townspeople to essentially expand the Mind Flayer, make him bigger and stronger. And what I really enjoyed about the storyline is that I felt like it gave us an opportunity to dive even deeper into the town of Hawkins. We got to really expand it more, we got to meet the mayor and find out how he's sort of connecting the town and the mall and the Russian spies. We got to learn why Hawkins is sort of this nexus for supernatural activity, and we also got to kind of see other areas of the town and meet other townspeople. And I think in doing that it made Hawkins feel more than just a location. Like, the town itself feels like it's its own character. And I also think that this whole story, you know, including Billy kind of giving him more of a big bad role, gave Decker Montgomery, who plays him, a chance to really go deeper and go to some really interesting places. We got to learn more about him as a character. From the scene in the sauna to his big moment at the mall at the end of this season, I felt like we really got to see a very impressive range of acting ability from the character of Billy. Yeah, he really brought it. And I think also kind of just right off the bat, the show continues to be a win sonically, visually. The production quality is off the charts. The cinematography is beautiful, all the detail they put into the 80s aspects are so impressive, and the music perfectly accents all the key moments going on in the show. The Mind Flayer itself is so grotesque that I literally got chills in every scene where rats and people turn into this crazy goopy sludge. Ah! I think there were also some really great editing moments, like when we're seeing that transition from the camera watching Joyce and Hopper to Dustin's binoculars. There were a lot of really cool moments like that visually that I think just kind of add to the magic of Stranger Things. I also love that we really got to see the female characters in the show take charge this season. 11 and Max are the first ones to discover that something's wrong with Billy and the other citizens of the town. Nancy fights to have her voice heard at her internship at the Hawkins Post. Erica, who's always been like a standout smaller character, finally gets a chance to get in on the action. And we're introduced to a new character named Robin who works with Steve at Scoops Ahoy. And what I particularly liked about Robin is that she's brave and she's smart, and she really is the one who helps Steve and Dustin figure out this whole Russian spy situation. Later on in the season, we learn that she's also queer, and I loved how they handled it because, while I think it's super important to tell LGBTQ+ stories, I think it's also really wonderful to see a character who's part of that community, but it's not the only aspect of their story. She was a brilliant character who happened to be gay, not a gay character who happened to be brilliant, you know what I mean? And even Dustin's girlfriend Susie, who turns out to be real, uses her geniuses to help save the world, although not until after an adorably cheesy duet of the theme song from the Neverending Story. That was such a fun moment. I'm just a sucker for a good musical number. And that's just another reason to love this show. Obviously there's mind flayers and goo people and Russian spies galore, but there's also like this innocence and humor to these characters that really just sucks you in. From Susie Pooh and Dusty Bun's duet, to the Russian scientist Alexei, who just wants to watch Looney Tunes, drink cherry slushies, and enjoy a good old-fashioned American carnival. It's just so pure! And we even get to see some great references to 80s icons like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or The Neverending Story, or my personal favorite, Back to the Future. I think they just do a really great job of packing in all these elements that make this show scary but fun and nostalgic and make you love these characters. Now, on the other side of things, I do think that there are a few places that they could have gone deeper in this season. The first one that really stood out to me was the whole situation with Max. This whole season, her brother Billy is the one that is involved with the Mind Flayer, getting all these other citizens involved in this, you know, supernatural horror show, and I just don't think that they really showed us how that was impacting her and her relationship with him. You know, I really enjoyed seeing the acting that Billy was going through in the sauna scene, but at the same time I felt like Max was having no reaction to the fact that like they were having to essentially beat up her brother. And I think even as someone who like knows Stranger Things and watches Stranger Things, I kept being like, that's her brother, right? Like she just doesn't seem like she cares. I just think that they could have really showed so much more emotion and so much more kind of conflict internally for her dealing with this whole situation. I also thought the character Jonathan didn't really bring much to the table this season. Towards the end he started helping out a bit, but overall if he wasn't in this season at all, I don't even think I would have noticed. And I also think there was some really awesome action sequences and, you know, fight sequences, especially that one with Steve beating the Russian spy, but there were a few that I think didn't actually work. The one that really stood out to me was when Hopper and Joyce and Murray infiltrate the Russian spy lair. Hopper ends up shooting up all these Russians, and there literally was no blood at all, and they just took their uniforms, there were no holes in them, there was no blood anywhere. I just thought that was a little bit strange. Now, I do want to get into the finale of this season and kind of talk about that end credit scene and what that could mean for season 4. So the season ends with Joyce managing to close the gate to the Upside Down, leading us to believe that Hopper was killed in the process. She, along with her sons Will and Jonathan and a newly orphaned 11, move away from Hawkins. While they're packing to move, Joyce finds that heart-to-heart conversation Hopper was planning to have with Elle, and we get to see just how much he loved her as his daughter. It was a really emotional moment. Honestly, the finale had a lot of really emotional moments for 11. We finally get to see her and Mike confess their love for each other as well, which was really sweet. And then there was a surprise end credits scene that showed Russian operatives grabbing a prisoner. We hear them say, "No, not the American," and then this prisoner is led to a chamber to be eaten by a Demogorgon. So clearly they have not stopped trying to get into the Upside Down. If they have a Demogorgon, they're still working on whatever it is that they're trying to do. And who is this American? Could it be Murray or maybe someone else we didn't realize was taken? Or do you guys think it could be Hopper? I mean, we never saw a body, so we just assumed that, you know, he kind of got disintegrated when Joyce closed the portal, but maybe he didn't. Maybe Russians stole him away before he could be disintegrated and are keeping him as a prisoner. And if that is him, it would be really awesome to see the whole gang come back together again in season 4 to save him. I also think it'd be really cool to see everyone reunite for the holidays, which might kind of hints at inviting Elle and the rest of the Byers family to come over for Christmas. There's also the big question of what happened to Eleven's powers and will she ever get them back? And I also have to admit, I really liked Susie and Dustin. I thought their scene was such a standout, having them sing their little duet. I would love to see Susie come down to Hawkins, hang out with Dustin and the gang, and help them with another supernatural entity, because I'm sure this is not the end. There's always more strange things happening in Hawkins. When it comes down to it, I really think that Stranger Things Season 3 brought it. I think the pacing really kept me hooked. They had this great progression where things just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it felt like it was encompassing this whole town and everyone kind of joined forces. It had humor, heart, 80s nostalgia, more supernatural phenomenon going on, while still dealing with a lot of realistic issues that young people face as they're growing up. From figuring out who you are, and friendships, and dating, and relationships. And while a lot of the gang were split up kind of doing different things this season, I love how they still came together in the end to fight the big bad. Like, no matter how busy they are or what else they have going on, these are the type of forever friends that will always be there to have your back. If you like this video, you can check out more of my Netflix reviews right over here and drop them in the comments to continue the conversation. I am dying to know what you guys thought about Stranger Things Season 3. What do you think this end credit scene means? Where are we going for Season 4? Can't wait to hear what you guys think. See ya!